We are finally going to solve our power problem once and for all. I got the final parts here. This is the Bluetti Charger one. I have one of these in the JL. We're gonna put one in the Gladiator. I'm gonna install it into the back seat area. We're gonna run down under the floor, up to the battery, and boom, voila, we'll be able to fast charge our power stations. And when I say fast charge, I mean this thing can put out up to 560 watts. So 1,000 watt hour power station, 2 hours. 2,000 watt hours, 4 hours. Super fast. I never need to charge a power station that much. I'm usually only having to put, 20% charge into it after it's running all night with the fridge or whatever. So this is really going to improve our charging situation. Now I also have that LED driver power supply I talked about in an earlier video. I'll put a link up above so you can find that video, so I can charge 2 power stations at the same time, one at 200 watts and one at 560 watts. So I am going to be set on power in the back of the Gladiator. Now, if you're not familiar with the Charger 1, it is this little box right here, and this takes 12 volt from the alternator, converts it to 24 volts at the whatever wattage we have it set at, and it's settable. So we can use the Bluetti app to go in and change the output on this based on our power station. If our power station can only take 400 watts, well, we can set this for 400 watts. If you're running Bluetti power stations, you just select which power station and it sets it automatically for you. It's very simple to install. We've got our inputs on one side that we're going to run up to the battery. We have our outputs on the other side that we run to our power station. So in the box here, well, that was graceful. Comes with an accessory kit here, has everything that you need. So this is our output. So we have these two that plug in to the Charger 1, and these two that, well, I mean, they don't plug into anything. They plug into these connectors. However, most of your power stations come with a solar connector, which are these plugs. So that's what we do, is we take the cords that come with our power station, plug them into here, and plug them into the solar input on the power station. So it's going to think that basically it's getting solar power. On the other side, we have a big honking block of cable that we can run up into the engine bay, and it comes with a big circuit breaker on it to make sure that, if it's overloaded, it's going to trip the circuit breaker and not cause any problems. It's not going to overheat the wires. So, should be fairly easy install. I'm going to show you where in the Gladiator we're going to put it and how we're going to run the wires, and then it's just a matter of, connecting it up to the battery. Pretty straightforward. We're going to step into the back seat of the Gladiator here, and here we have the post for the screw for the jack, and over here we have the other little piece that the jack slides on. And right about here, somewhere in here, is a rubber grommet, and that's what we're going to go through. So if we pull the carpeting back, there, kind of hard to do with one hand. Oh, there we go. Pull the carpeting back and we can see the rubber grommet right here. So I'm going to pull that out, run the wires through it, and put it back in so that if we go through some, deep water, we splash some water, it's not going to come in. We're just going to run the wires through that grommet, put it back, and then, well, tuck all the carpet back in. Should be pretty easy. We've got the wires run, the unit in place, We've got our wires connected to it with the XT60 to go to the power station. Now we just need to connect it to the battery. I've got the positive coming up here to the battery, and we have the negative coming over here to the ground post. That's where you normally do things instead of going to the battery. Just take it to the frame. So battery's all connected. Everything is set up. All we have to do now is plug in a power station and start the engine. So we've got the charger running and I've got the app up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it for the Elite 200 V2. So I'm going to go to charging voltage here. Yes, everything is disconnected. I'm going to select the model, come up to Elite 200 V2, 56 volts. Okay, yes, sure. Make sure I want to do that. Charging voltage is set successfully. Okay, wait 90 seconds before connecting to the power station. So it's got to come up to power. Now, if you're not running a Bluetti, and therefore, you're not using the Bluetti app for the power station, then you just want to make sure that you set the charging voltage to whatever your power station can handle. If it can take 200 watts, 500 watts, whatever, just set it manually, 24 volts, 56 volts, and it'll work appropriately. So now, let's go plug in the power station and see if it's working. So now we've got everything hooked up. We got the engine running, so we can go in and set the Charger 1 up. So let me try and do this with one hand here. I've got the Bluetti Elite 200 V2 in here. This thing can take a lot of input power. So I'm going to go into the app. Let's go to the voltage. Nothing is connected. I don't want anything connected while I'm making these changes. I'm going to select the model, go to the Elite V100 V2, go next, say OK. It should say that it's done. Charging voltage for the Elite 200 V2 set successfully. And it does say to wait 90 seconds before connecting the power station. And often that's because the charger will ramp up or ramp down over a little bit of time. So if I have it set on 56 volts, but I'm plugging it in to a unit that only takes 24 volts, you could fry something by overloading it. So you want to look at the app itself and make sure that it's come down to 24 volts before you plug it in. In this case, I went up from 24 to 56 and it's ready almost immediately. So let's see if things are working. Okay, we've got the unit here, it's turned off. We've got the plug from the Charger 1. I'm going to plug it in and now everything should turn on. Okay, we've got 96% on here and we should start seeing a charge. There we go, 438, 440, and that should kick up a little bit. Now I might not see the full 560 because we're at 96% battery on here, but it's probably going to get pretty close regardless. I mean, it's going to get pretty high. But if this was down in the 90% range, this would be taking full power and it would get up to that 560. So everything seems to be working. And now I'm going to go turn the engine off so I can show you what happens. Here we go. So it says it's still taking some voltage here, but now that the engine is turned off, there we go. It just dropped, it's at 0. Now we're not draining anything from the battery and we're safe at this point. So hopefully you can see how this is going to benefit you when you're trying to charge a power station. It doesn't pull any juice from the battery to charge this power station. It only draws power when the engine is running. And I think that's a very important point. So that's it, pretty simple. Basic install, a wire to the ground, a wire to the positive on the battery, and figuring out where you're going to run the wires and where you're going to have them come out. It really doesn't get much easier than that for something that is going to automatically charge your power stations when your engine's running. This is a solution I looked for a long, long time. Now there's a couple of them on the market. I use the Bluetti ones because I use mostly Bluetti power supplies, so I can just select the model and I'm good to go. So hope you enjoyed that install. This is going to work for pretty much anything, a van, a Wrangler, a Gladiator, a Toyota, you name it. This is a solution that's going to help you charge your power stations. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry. Be safe out there. We'll see you on the trails.